doing what. And I said, why don't you come back in January? I said, we have midterms, we have 9 weeks exams. I said, we're at a pretty crunch time right now. And I said, I even relayed that to Professor, I believe, Davies, and told her that we were a little concerned with anyone coming closer to exam schedule because we're not introducing, and really there's not a lot of review time. Our days are consumed with documentation, our SPED students, other meetings, etc. And so I'm not sure what this little girl relayed back to McCrell, but I did tell her that it was just not going to work in January.
Okay. And, I missed our McCrell meeting. It happened just a little while ago today, and I wasn't there, so I don't know if that message came back to us or not. So I can't share that with you. But, Rachel, I want to reassure you that I understand your classroom. I mean, I was in the classroom for 10 years, so I get it.
Well, that makes me feel better. I said, I bet you don't even know what a SPED student is. And she said, no, I a statistician. And I said, well, you're not helping me any. I said, really true. I said, your best thing to do right now is leave. And I said, you go back to Southern and tell them I said to get it together, and you just come back in January to visit us. So, and she apologized. I don't know. But anyway, I appreciate it, Amber.
Okay, definitely. Have you, just out of curiosity, has a McCrell person been to observe you?
We had one out-of-state woman who was with McCrell back in October, I believe.
Okay.
And
yeah.
Later on, they came off.
Yeah. Yeah. We've had one McCrell visit, and this would have been our first Southern visit had it been on a good day.
Okay. I will definitely talk with them about that and hopefully get this cleared up so that doesn't happen again. And like I said, if it comes down to it, then, I may just sit down and pull all the data and put a schedule together myself if that's what we have to do, but I do appreciate all of you responding in a timely way and giving us the feedback that we need so we can make those trips to observe and get the data we need. So I appreciate you working with us on that, and I will do what I can on my end.
Okay, we appreciate that. Thank you, Amber.
Sure. I wish I could be the one to come out and observe. I would enjoy that.
You would too if you spent 10 years in a classroom, because you would have some sort of what goes on. Yeah,
exactly right. Oh, I know all about the SPED students and the others. It's not all.
Okay, good.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead, and I'm just going to kind of take roll here and get some feedback in regards to the program. And if you can see my screen, you will see that right now I've got the web page open for our December booster session. And I will refer to this a little bit today because I put some resources on here for you that could be helpful as you come into January. Also on that page are the discussion points for today and the discussion points from last month. Depending on where you are in implementing the program, I know some people had a late start, so you may need the pieces from last month as we get going. So hopefully you have access to at least watch my screen. And I also do have the discussion points up.
We don't have access at George County to see you. So.
Okay, so you can't see me, you're just listening. Okay.
No, not today.
That's okay.
We're lucky we had the phone. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. So you know how to access the website, though, because there are a couple of resources I will refer to, and they'll just be there. You can take a peek whenever you have time, okay?
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go by what I see on my screen as who I have here. So I do see April's here. How you doing, April? Okay, maybe she...
Hey, I'm good.
There she is. So April, how are things going for you this month?
They're going fine. What's today, the 12th?
Yeah.
You know, I feel like we didn't. I feel like we just had a meeting last week.
But, well, because since were you at the one right after Thanksgiving, so it hasn't been long, has it?
I know. I guess not. Everything's going good. You know, we've been, of course, they're used to doing the calendar and the counting tape and the percent circle and all that. And we have exams starting tomorrow. So we pretty much, I mean, this is it for December. We can't finish out our month because exams start tomorrow and go all the way through next week. So, I mean, this is all we can do for this month. And then hopefully in January we'll be able to pick back up with everything. But as far as what we've done so far, everything's going good.
Okay. Did you ever receive the planning guide?
I have not received the planning guide.
Okay. So I have a couple things on my agenda to look into. In April, I will say that the planning guide has come up in McCrell meetings every week, and we continue to contact the publisher, and at this point, I may just send you mine.
Oh, okay.
Is anybody else missing that spiral-bound planning guide?
Hey, Amber?
Yeah.
Brian Nash here at George County has received 3 or 4 planning guides, and we got them way back in August down at the in July at the 2-day seminar. So something's wrong because our school keeps receiving planning guides.
Okay, this is good to know.
Nobody.
Okay, so I may ask. I'll let you know. Brian, I might follow up with you on what we want to do with those, or I may have a Southern Miss person stop and grab them. I'm not exactly sure, but it's good to know that we have those, and we can maybe get one to April.
That'd be great.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Anything else, April? We can move along.
No, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Right, great. And then I see Ashley's here.
Hi.
Hi. How are you doing, Ashley?
We're doing good. I'm kind of like everybody else. We're starting our semester exams, so we're not getting to finish up everything that we should have started, but it's going great.
Good. And that happens, I mean, obviously throughout the year we have things going on between exams and state testing, so you do what you need to do, and if you pick up where you left off or if you start fresh in the next month, you know your students and where you need to go. So,
yeah.
Great. Connie, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Everything I guess is going pretty good. The students, what we did this time around was with the exponents, the graphing, and I like the way the daily variable and the pattern, all that stuff is together because they so interrelate to each other, and I've got them upside each other on the board. So when I actually show them the equation with the graphing and the diagrams of the squares and stuff, and that kind of seems all to come together when we have time to do that. On the daily circle, this has been a great review for my kids for multiplying fractions and whole numbers, because we had already done this several weeks ago, but like I said, it is a good review, and so it all seems to be coming together. It's just like the rest of them. We're getting ready to test, and it's all kind of coming together.
It's that time of year. Okay. Good. And then I've got Rachel with Brian and Kelly.
Yes.
Oh, we can't.
We're all here.
Okay. Anything you want to
Well, we've just opted with our exam starting this week as well. We've opted, we're not doing everything. We kept the counting tape. We're doing the daily variable, and we kept with the calendar. We did not introduce all components for December, just because of the time purpose, and that was a lot of prep work to only use it for 7 or 8 days. No offense.
No, I think that makes sense. I think that's a great idea.
And we'll just kick back off with January when we come back on the 7th.
Okay. No, I think that's perfect. Okay, I see Stephanie. Are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
How are things going for you?
It's good. I'm one of those late bloomers.
Yeah.
I've got mine late, so I started it in December. So I just started it.
Okay.
But we're doing great with it. The kids are really catching on to it.
So Stephanie, did you start back in?
I started the 1st of December, but I started with the September thing, the theme.
Okay.
September theme with the prime numbers and the I started with the 100s on my counting tape. I basically started from the very beginning, but I started it with the December month.
Okay, great. Good. So some of the content we will talk about today, Stephanie, and this probably applies to Susie as well, won't be things you will be implementing come January, but eventually down the road you'll probably get to them.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Susie, how about you?
Well, I'm just a little behind Stephanie. I wrote a grant for a large bulletin board knowing this was coming, and it's taken forever for my bulletin board to get here, but I'm hung up and I've got paper on it, and I'm going strong. We're all excited to go at it tomorrow morning.
Excellent. Great.
And I'm planning to do like Stephanie, just start at the beginning with the counting tape, and just we had the meeting with Mr. Clark the other day, the webinar with Mr. Clark, and it was great. And so he kind of told us how to get started.
Perfect. Well, know that if either of you have any questions, no matter how big or small, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'd be happy to help you out, whether it's through email or phone call, whatever you need, okay?
Great, thanks.
Sure.
Great, thanks.
Okay. One of the things I'm going to ask you about later today are, of the things that we've done so far in the booster sessions, what has been helpful to you, and what would be helpful for us here at McCrell to continue to provide to support you so that we can best meet any needs that you do have. So keep that in the back of your mind as we talk today. If you don't have the agenda right now, that's okay. It is on the website, and you can pull it up because it's got on there what materials need to be prepared for January and references the page numbers and all of that. There were a couple of new things last month. If you started with us way back in August, that I thought I might ask about and see if anybody had any comments. The arrays were a little bit different this month of December, where you had the factor strips. Did anybody use that element this month, and how did it go with the factor strips?
This is Connie. I used them, and it helped me with review of divisibility rules, because I'd already taught those, and we've talked about them, and actually seeing the numbers like underneath the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and looking at the pattern and talking about the divisibility rules, and the same thing with the other numbers, the 3, the 4, and the 5, or the 5, I could see the 5 and the 0 and the 5. So to me, it was a really, or it is, because we're still working on it, is an excellent way to review the kids on those divisibility rules. I know in the book it said to kind of let them introduce the rules, But I guess I kind of jumped the gun when I had introduced them the first 9 weeks. So, but a lot of the kids, though, they had forgotten them.
Sure.
So I kind of asked them, you know, if they forgot, what rule would they come up with? So.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's okay. They've probably seen the visibility rules before they came to you anyway. So that's good. Just reinforces. Great. Anybody else? That's okay. I just wanted to ask about that one in particular. In getting ready for January, so again, on the agenda or on the discussion points, you'll see the materials that need prepared. So it's pretty much your standard pieces with graphs and charts, etc. So I've got those there for you, so you can get ready for that. There are 2 elements in particular I wanted to talk about as you get ready for January. One is the calendar, and the calendar in January, and it's actually the February month in your guide, focuses on rotational symmetry. And I thought this is a little bit different, and I wanted to point out that this content will really help prepare students for an 8th grade standard that they will be seeing. So it's in the, I think I put it in the discussion points, but it's 8th grade geometry standard A3. And so that standard, I'm pulling up on the screen if you can see, but if not, that standard talks about students being able to describe the effect of dilations, translations, rotations, and reflections on 2-dimensional figures. So by talking about the rotational symmetry in the calendar time, we'll be helping prepare and build some prerequisite knowledge and skills for those students when they enter 8th grade. On our website, I pulled a video that might be helpful, whether it's for you or maybe just to show students, a very small clip if you have the technology available to do that. If not, maybe you want to take a look at it. It's on the website under December. It's a 12-minute video, but I called out a specific 1-minute portion that would really support what you're doing in the calendar time. If you've got your teacher guide, take a look at page, let's see, page 106. So you'll see the calendar there, and I really want to call out the beginning of the month dialogue on page 106 through page 107. That sample dialogue will be really important to help students understand what you mean by rotational symmetry and giving them a visual of what rotational symmetry looks like. So this video does another good job of just providing an extra visual for students and for you if you need it, just to support that idea of rotational symmetry. So when a square rotates 90 degrees, it looks the same as when it started. So that's what we're looking at this month, which is a little bit different than the pieces in previous months. There are still some reference back to patterns as well, but the key and the main piece that I wanted to point out was that rotational symmetry piece. And just to get some feedback from you, is rotational symmetry anything that you would normally talk about with 7th grade students?
Well, we just taught it yesterday. This is George County. We just happened to teach rotational symmetry yesterday. Our Saxon has already introduced point symmetry as well.
That's perfect. That's perfect because this will really then reinforce and help that retention over time.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great because now when we come back in January, they'll have already been introduced with a very basic lesson, and we'll be able to focus on it with this algebra readiness.
Excellent. This video, and I don't know if you talk about order at all, but this video that's on the website talks about order. Yes. Good. Okay. So this video might really be a good reinforcer for that content then. Okay.
Good.
In terms of questioning, if you've got the spiral bound guide there, you know, I always go back to that when I'm looking at the content, because Mr. Clark does a really good job of coming up with some probing questions for students to really think about. And again, he's got some good ones here. The one thing, one caution or student misconception to keep in mind around the rotational symmetry would be that some students may think it has to be a regular polygon for there to be rotational symmetry. And so we want to make sure that they understand, for example, a rectangle is not a regular polygon. However, it does have rotational symmetry. So making sure we call that out to students. Okay. Also, in the teacher guide, still on page 106, there's a nice little blurb right below the image of the calendar that talks about the different polygons and their different types of symmetry. So that's another good little piece to draw from if you need to. Any questions, comments?
No, I think we're good here.
Okay, great. The other piece that I thought would be critical in January and wanted to call out is the daily circle. And again, this is going to have a geometry focus. If you turn to page, let's see, 112 in your teacher guide, actually let's say 110 in your teacher guide. Basically what students are going to be doing is, if you haven't read it already, is they'll be taking measurements of the radius of various circles or the diameters of various circles. And the big piece here is helping students understand that oftentimes when we measure, we may not be able to get a precise measurement due to whatever tools we have available. And so that's a big piece, and Andy talks about that a lot in his author notes and throughout his description of that element. So just making sure students understand that. He suggests having at least 2 people make the measurements so that you can prepare and get as precise a measure as possible. You may have more students be involved in that piece, just in an effort to involve more students. You're only going to go through, I think, 7 circles in the month, so which is a good thing, because that could get kind of tedious measuring all those circles if you had to go through it every day. But the other piece is that the students are making a connection between diameter and circumference, and really investigating to kind of discover that relationship and where pi came from. I'm sure you've done activities with this in the past, so again, I see this just as a reinforcing piece. I wanted to call out again a Common Core standard, though, that this will be supporting, and that's a grade 7 standard, and it's 7, obviously geometry, B4. And so that standard is, it talks about students knowing the formulas for area and circumference of a circle and using them to solve problems. And they even talk about giving an informal derivation of the relationship between the circumference and area. So this element won't quite get to the area piece, but it's going to start to help build that relationship between diameter and circumference of the circle. So tell me, is that content that you normally cover?
Amber, I'm sorry, you faded in and out on that.
Okay, so we're talking about the daily circle, and
yes.
And that this month the focus is on students discovering the relationship between diameter and circumference and the idea of pi.
Oh, absolutely. That's an objective. 4B or 4C right now, even without Common Core.
It is. It's directly from Common Core, so this will be in strong support of your standards.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. If you can't see the website, I also put resources on there to support this element in the month of January as well. So specifically, I called out a lesson from NCTM that, so through this element, only some students will really get to interact with this activity and really be a part of it. So if you wanted to involve all students, there's a sample lesson plan already created for you. It's through NCTM and supports that standard. So I have the link on our website. If you're watching along with me, there's also an interactive technology tool. So again, I'm not sure everybody has different access to technology, but I wanted to share this with you just in case you maybe have a smart board or something in your room that you can pull this up on. But this is an NCTM interactive tool where students can really explore quickly the relationship between radius, diameter, and your circumference without having to have a lot of items and take a lot of measurements and deal with inaccuracies in their measurements. So it's kind of a neat little tool. I encourage you to take a look on the website at that piece.
Excuse me, what website are you referring to? I
Is this,
apparently don't have that written down.
that's okay. Is this Stephanie?
Yes, it is.
Okay, Stephanie, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to email you as soon as we're done here, and I'll email Susie as well. The website we're referring to, but McCrell has created a website to support the Everyday Counts Algebra Readiness Program and the participants in that program. And so this website has different resources that we will reference on the booster sessions. And so there's a page for each month. And so this month is December, and I just upload videos. I've uploaded videos that I've created to help with specific items in the teacher guide. There have been different resources that we've put up there. So I will send you that website link.
That will be awesome. Thank you.
Sure, and it also has the basically like an agenda for each session. So that would be there as well. Okay?
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, like I said, I kind of want to gather a little information so that we here at McCrell can support you and your needs as best we can. And so I'm going to just point out a few resources that we have included in different booster sessions so that you can tell me what has been helpful, maybe what hasn't been so helpful, so that we can make sure we're pulling things that will benefit you. Okay, so back in August, we shared a resource from PBS, and it was a questioning card. Does anybody remember that? It's been a while. If not, I encourage you to go back and take a peek at August, but it's a card that you could make front and back, and it has questions you could use as you try to develop mathematical thinking with students. Okay, so to help students learn to reason, and then it gives different questions you could be using in the classroom. Okay, I'm sure you'll notice when you look through it that you probably already use a lot of these, and that's a good thing. Okay, so that's one resource that we used, and that was back in August. Okay. A couple of times I created a video probably similar to like a Khan Academy where you see a whiteboard and then you hear a voiceover. So I did one last month and I think the month before that. And then other resources have been, like today, there's a video on the website and some lesson links. So if you could just give me feedback on what is helpful to you, if any of that.
This is Connie. I like it like when we are talking and we have questions about something where you go behind us and you actually put on the site where you talk, like you said, the talk over, and you're drawing it out and actually explaining what we had discussed, because some of us had questions about the raise with prime factorization and different ways. And it just gives me a better concept when I can actually go back and pull this up and listen to you talk while you're actually drawing it out.
Okay.
And discussing it. So I like that.
Okay, great. Perfect. Anyone else? Is it helpful for me to reference specific standards?
Well, again, this is Connie. It is for me, especially with the Common Core, since it's coming up pretty quick, and we're trying to get a handle on it at our school. As many resources as I can get a hold of, that's so much better for me, because I'm making catalogs, you know, at my school, trying to get all the stuff together, since I'm kind of over the math department with the Common Core at my school. So anything I can grab and get from anybody to put it together for the teachers, I mean, it's just really helpful. So anytime you connect it to the Common Core, that's fantastic.
Good. Okay.
I agree with Connie. We agree with Connie. It helps when you're giving out the objectives, just because Common Core is still not an area of focus here that our administrator has chosen to incorporate. We are still heavily into the Mississippi framework. So a lot of us have gone to a little training on Common Core, and we have the manuals that contain the objectives and competencies, or the domains and the clusters, I guess. But, you know, because the MCT is a mile wide and an inch deep and Common Core is the opposite, we are not doing anything really with Common Core this year.
Okay.
I don't know. Is there anybody else on besides us and Connie? I think we're the only ones that ever talk. I think we're not going to say anything. We'll see if somebody else responds.
Well, Stephanie and I teach 6th grade, so we feel like we're a little out of the loop.
Okay.
No, you're perfect. You're perfect. Our kids should still be in 6th grade.
But a lot of what is in this product, it was 6th grade math objectives. So we're teaching both Common Core. We are teaching Common Core, and then when we get a free minute, we have to rush back and teach MCT2. So this is really going to take the place for Stephanie and I to teach the MCT2 while we're teaching Common Core.
Right.
So we're really excited to have
that's
this.
right.
Good.
That's a good point. That is a good point.
But I'm the newbie, so I don't want to assert myself.
Oh, you need to assert yourself. We need to know we're not the only ones struggling.
Are there things that you, today I put a lesson plan on there from NCTM. And the reason I did that was not to support the program, but to support the Common Core content, because this directly relates to Common Core. And so I thought, well, you might want more than this element, and here's another resource for you. Is that helpful? Would you like me to do that? Find lesson plans and include them?
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessary on our end, just because of the textbook that we're using. That but if it's helping others, that's a nice thing for you to do, Amber.
Okay. And like I said, I only did that because it supports Common Core, and I know that that's
Sure.
something that it's coming down the pike for you, and just want to make sure that you have resources if you don't already.
Right.
Okay, so those are some things that have already been done. What are some things that maybe McCrell could do to help help your implementation? So I know we had an issue with observations. I'm going to look into that. I know we have an issue with not having a guide still for April. But is there something that we could be doing on the booster sessions, preparing in advance, that would be beneficial to you?
I think that I always get confused because it's December, so I try to follow the December, and some of the sessions that I go to, they're talking about the January stuff because they tried to get ahead since we missed a month, and then some of them are doing the December stuff, and so my thing is I'm trying to stay with the book and still try to get to most of the important stuff, because when we finish in May, there's still June to do. And so I don't want to get behind, but I don't want to be ahead. And so, my calendar, because we started the calendar in September, we started the September calendar in August.
Yes.
So that kind of mixed up my whole calendar thing. And so I ended up actually skipping, I think it was the September calendar pieces, and used the October ones in September, and then I used the December pieces in November, and then I think I went back and did I don't remember what I did, but I mixed up my calendar pieces so that they could still try to hit on all of it, and then I could just catch back up in January. The other girl at my school, what she did is she covered it was either August or September pieces at first, where it had to do with the factors, and then she skipped the next month and went to the October pieces, or maybe the November pieces. She skipped the October pieces and went to the November pieces, so that in November or December she went back to the October pieces, to where her kids completely forgot about instead of following the same pattern where it goes from September to October, she let them forget that it had something to do with the number of factors, and so she just went back and hit back on that. And so we've been kind of mixing up our calendar pieces so that in January we can actually catch back up with the January pieces.
Right.
And like I said, for December we didn't get to do much of anything because, we're not even halfway through the month, and our exams start tomorrow, so we're done with this for this month. And I still want to be able to fit as much as I can.
So I definitely understand your confusion. I get a little confused too. And I anticipated this when we started, because Mississippi starts school so early compared to what the teacher guide is, and so that's why we're off. We're off in the calendar by a month, and then we have our session a month early to plan for the next month. So like you're saying, today we're in December, but we're planning for January, but it's really February in the guide, so I get it.
Right.
Exactly.
I'm completely behind on what we're supposed to be doing, and I think it's this coming up year that I believe we are starting school in September.
Oh.
I think I'm correct in saying that starting next year we're starting school in September and getting out in June.
Yeah.
And so I think if I continue to teach junior high next year, I think then it'll really be helpful for me then, because I can actually follow the guide and do what I'm supposed to do when I'm supposed to be doing it.
You know, I went through mine and I tabbed them all and I changed the date so that I could remember, because I couldn't remember, you know, where we were.
Yeah, we did that. Yeah, we did. Andy told us to do that with it. In the future, they might in the book want to maybe
one for Mississippi. But now we will be starting. I think it was passed a law that the next year we will not be able to start until after the third Monday or something like that of August.
Yeah.
So that will be changing soon. If not this year, it'll be next year.
Okay. Yeah, it might have been nice for them to just call it month 1, month 2, etc.
I agree. We said the same thing. Because it is confusing. It is.
Yeah, I agree. April, we're all right there with you. So, you know, if you get off, if you don't finish, you do what you can. If you change things around, that's okay. When I plan, I'm probably ahead of the game no matter what you do. So at some point, if it's not coming up in a couple of weeks, maybe the next month, you'll get to what content we discussed, hopefully. So, you know, and you can always go back to the website and look at the resources when you get closer if you're not doing it very soon after we talk. So I definitely understand that concern. Any other suggestions on things that would be helpful to you? You know, I'm happy to make those little voiceover videos where you can see me going through a sample problem at any point in time, whether it's on a booster session or it's just an email. If you let me know something that you'd like a quick example of, it really doesn't take me much time to do that and put it up on the website and send you a link. So I just need to know the content. So you let me know if you have a need and I will put it together for you.
Sounds great.
I actually kind of like doing it. It's fun. So.
Well, I'll go ahead and tell you a concept now.
All right, great.
I'm going to give you 2 of them because they are hard concepts for 7th graders, and we have a lot of low students this year. Pythagorean theorem and surface area of geometric solids, honestly.
Okay, perfect. And I know that those are going to be coming up in the teacher guide.
Isn't it March or April?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So that's helpful, definitely. All right, good. Anything else?
No, I think we're good here. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we'll wrap things up. But like I said, send me an email anytime you need something. You have a question, no matter how big or small. And Stephanie and Susie, I'm going to send you an email with the link to the website so you can take a look at the resources there. Okay?
Okay, great. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Amber.
Have a good holiday.
You too. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.